So welcome back to this channel, Radha Krishna Maluru. Again, I have Mr. Kaushik Padigala with me, who is preparing for the Polytechnic Common Entrance Test, Polytest 2021. It's going to be conducted on Saturday, July 17th, I think, from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., I think. Okay, so earlier we said the duration of the test would be 1.5 hours, but it seems like the test would be for 2.5 hours. So overall, I think 120 questions will be there, and yeah, 120 questions, right? Yes or no? Yeah,
Yes, sir. 120 questions.
120 questions. And what's the time duration?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Okay, 2.5 hours means 150 minutes, right? Yeah, 150 minutes. Okay,
Yes, sir.
right. So yeah. Okay, all right. So 150 minutes, 120 questions. That means each question has a minimum 1 minute time to process. So that means for easy and short questions, you can take less than 1 minute. And for long and complicated questions, you can take maximum 2 minutes or maybe slightly more than 2 minutes if you really have time for that. Okay, now in the next few minutes, I'm going to discuss what are the tips and techniques when you are writing a multiple choice competitive exam. That means when you have some number of questions like 120 questions, and when you have some time like 150 minutes, and when you have options, option A, B, C, D for each and every question, then what are the tips and techniques that you can follow to take the best option, right? So point number one, you need to practice well. Okay, you need to practice well
Yes,
to
sir.
understand the time management, to understand the pattern of the exam, to understand the type of questions that are coming, to understand the sections and which type of questions are coming in each and every section. For example, maths, physics, and chemistry, 60 marks, 30 marks, 30 marks in POLYCET 2021. So first thing is you need to consciously practice. That means while practicing, you need to observe all the important things. Okay, that is one thing you need to do. And point number two, you before decide, even though you know the answer, you need to read all the four options. That means before deciding your final answer and marking it in the pencil in the circle, okay, right, you need to glance or at least observe, or maybe you need to read all the four options, because many competitive exams expect you to take the best answer, and sometimes there can be more than one correct answer in the four options. So if you just feel like you know the correct answer, and if you see the correct answer immediately, if you take that answer and finalize it by marking it in a pencil, then sometimes it may go wrong actually, because there may be a better answer than that. There may be the best answer among the four options. So you are before finalizing and marking your answer, okay, right, in less than 1 or 2 minutes in an exam like POLYCET 2021, you need to observe the remaining options also, and you need to do your best to take the best option. Best option only you can take. Okay, so to get a better idea about what would be the best option, right? So while practicing mock tests or practice exams, practice tests, okay, you need to observe this also carefully. How many correct answers are there, and what is the best answer among all the correct answers, and why it is the best answer. Okay, sometimes the books or the trainers, teachers can provide this information. Sometimes they may miss this information, but you too should analyze what made this answer to be the best answer. Okay, right. And the point number, this is point number. So first point is practice. Okay, every day, ideally in the same time of the exam. That is whatever the exam scheduled time, like 11 a.m. to maybe 1:30 p.m. That should be the time you should write that. Uh, you know, your practice test.
Exam.
Okay, because your practice needs to be perfect. Okay, right, perfect in the sense at least close to perfection. Okay, you need to get acclaimed, accustomed or habituated to the time frame. Okay, right. I would also say you can make a habit of taking lunch before, in the time of breakfast, maybe you can start taking lunch actually, because if you take lunch at that time, then I think you can focus on the exam till the end of the exam. Okay, right. But if you just take breakfast, you may get hunger quickly, and you may not focus on your practice exam, or you may not focus on your real exam on Saturday, July 17th. So all the politics, all
Sir,
the
but I have listened. Sir, can I say, sir? But
yeah,
I have listened eating lunch which has a high calorie value, like a rice, we can get easily sleepiness, sir. Is it correct, sir?
Yeah, if you eat anything heavy, there is a possibility that you may feel sleepy because the brain's processing power would go for digestion system. So when the brain is focusing on the digestion system, it cannot work actively, and it may ask you to go to sleep. Okay, right? So that is the reason I'm asking people to take lunch instead of breakfast. That means during the breakfast time, you don't take breakfast, but you take lunch. The reason for that is in the lunchtime, you are going to write the exam. So whether it is practice exam or whether it is real exam, the time of that is actually going to be the lunchtime. So that too on Saturday, in Hyderabad at an examination center, it's a physical exam, right? You need to go physically to the exam center, right? Yeah, you need to go
Yes, sir.
physically to the exam center. That means, if you take lunch at the breakfast time, like 9 a.m., and most probably you will not need, a good amount of food until the afternoon, until you complete the exam. Okay, right. So by the time anyway, the exam is at 11 a.m., right? So 11 a.m. means maybe you can take lunch at 8 a.m., like that. Meals. What I mean by lunch is meals actually. So you can take meals at in between 8 and 9 based on where the exam center is and where you stay or where you travel, how you travel on that day. So in between, most probably in between 8 and 9, you can take meals on that day. Okay, right. And maybe you can water would be available, I think, at the exam center. So most probably, or else maybe you can carry a water bottle if possible, and if they agree, if they allow, right? So yeah, so by the time, so there is a very less chance of being sleepy during the exam time, because if you take meals in between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., and the exam will start at, by 11, I think. So maybe you will reach the exam center in between 10:30 and 11. Okay, right? So if that
Yes,
is the time, generally, many competitive exams ask the candidate to come half an hour early, like that. So reporting time is the important time here. Instead of talking about the exam starting time, one should talk about reporting time. When we are
yes,
talking about a competitive exam. So 11 a.m. if it is the reporting time, that's very good. We are talking right. But if 11 a.m. if it is the exam start time, then it is slightly risky, because if you aim to reach the exam center at 11 a.m., and if that 11 a.m. is the reporting time, okay, the minimum reporting time, then you are on a safe side. But if that 11 a.m. is not the reporting time, and if it is like the exam start time, then there is a very high risk of going late to the exam. And if you don't uh, attend the exam within certain time, then they may not allow you to attend the exam. So then that is also once again not good. Okay, right? So one must talk, especially when we are talking about competitive exams, one must talk only the reporting time. One must mention only the reporting time majorly. Okay, right? So here I'm not sure what is the reporting time, but you need to focus on reporting time. You need to talk only about reporting time every time. Okay, right?
yes,
Because that reporting time is important. When you go early, you will have a very good, yeah, this is actually maybe, yeah, actually I was focusing only on options and multiple choice question based competitive exam. So next question, point number 4 would be, yes, again, yes, point number 3 or 4 we can take, like the food and water. Okay, so because this time is like in the afternoon, around the noon time, that is, around the 12 noon actually. So 11 to 1 means generally that is the lunch time, and immediately after completing the exam, you cannot take lunch unless you go to a hotel or some place. So that's why you need to have good enough food in the morning. Okay, right? So what I believe is, it's instead of taking the so-called South Indian snacks like the breakfast, which would not be enough up to afternoon. Okay, it's better to take meals itself in the morning. Like you can take rice with a kind of, and we can start that from today itself. From today itself, maybe you can start meals, or maybe from tomorrow you can start taking meals in the morning itself, maybe in between 8 and 9. Okay, right, just like the time of, or whatever the time that you take breakfast. This is what all people who are attempting POLYCET 2021 can do, I think. This is kind of a small shift in their daily routine they can make, at least until they complete that POLYCET exam. After the exam is completed, then they can again shift back to normal daily chores, normal daily life, like taking breakfast in the morning, lunch in the afternoon, like that. Because of this timing, it's a very strange timing. Maybe they selected this timing to allow people to come from different places, because there would be people who would come from far off places. Like there might be people who travel from Nellore also to Hyderabad the previous night.
Yes, sir.
Maybe by trains or maybe by buses like that, or maybe by own transport. So maybe this is the reason why they have taken the time like 11 a.m. Okay, but if 10:30 a.m. is the reporting time, then we must talk that time 10:30 a.m. Okay, right? So this is about it. And anyway, it is more like external planning, but internal, again, coming back into the exam question and options. Point number 4, if you don't know the right answer, okay, right, then you need to depend on your first impression. Like for example, if you are relaxed, if you practiced well, and if you are relaxed at the time of writing the exam, attempting the questions in the competitive exam, then even if you don't know the answer, sometimes you get a first impression feeling. So most probably this could be the answer. Most probably option C or option B, this could be or option D or option one. Okay, this could be the answer. Like that, you get a first impression, and you can observe that first impression if you are very relaxed, and if you're taking care of your time, and if you're following your plan, if you practiced well, like that. So if everything goes well, you can depend on your first impression, and instead of leaving that question, you can take that first impression, you can mark that first impression answer as the answer for your question. Okay, right? Right. And this is only for the questions that you don't know the answer for. Okay, and preferably for competitive exams where negative marking is not there. Okay, now, Kaushik, do you know whether there is negative marking or not for this POLYCET 2021?
No, sir, there is no negative marking, sir.
Okay, if there is no negative marking in POLYCET 2021 and all competitive exams that have no negative marking, you can definitely depend on your first impression, and your intuition, your feelings when you are answering questions which you don't understand, or when you're answering questions for which you don't know the answers. Instead of leaving it just like that, you can just take, a decision based on your first impression, and you can just mark it in less than 2 minutes. Okay, right? That way you can make sure that you are attempting all the questions. So competitive exam or multiple choice or descriptive academic exam, it is very important to attempt all the questions. Only when we attempt all the questions, only when we attempt for all the marks, then there is a possibility of getting the maximum marks. If we don't attempt for everything, in the sense, all the things, in the sense, if there is choice, I'm not saying to attempt choice also. You need not attempt choice in descriptive academic exams, but in competitive exams, generally there is no choice. So obviously you need to attempt all questions if there is no negative marking. But yes, if there is negative marking, then obviously, you need to go on a plan. You need to have a strategy for that. Okay, right? Yeah. Okay, so that is how it is. So the most important things here are, you need to see all the 4 options before deciding your best answer. And the most important point number 2 is, you can depend on your first impression and your intuition and your feelings. Okay, right? Instead of leaving the question, because there is no negative marking. Okay, right? Yeah. And what else? Yeah. The other day you asked me whether it is better to fill the bubbles in pencil at the as and when the final answer is decided, or at the end of the exam. At the end, it is
Yeah.
risky. I replied it is risky to fill the bubbles at the end of the exam, because anything may happen anytime and unexpected things may happen. Okay, right? So you know that's not a good thing. Okay, so it's better to decide the answer in less than 1 minute for short and easy questions, and it is better to decide the answer in less than 2 minutes for long and complex questions. Okay, sometimes short questions can be complex, sometimes long questions can be easy. So practice, helps us to understand all these things. But no question can take more than 2 minutes, at least in the first round. And again, in the first round, I told
Yes, sir.
you, like, you can have at least 2 rounds in the exam. Okay, right. So yeah, in detail, maybe we'll discuss either tomorrow, Sunday, or on Monday. Okay, right. So again, how to slice the time for this new model. For example, earlier, that's this, whatever the analysis we applied last time. If you apply the same thing again, okay, you can understand how much time to. So basically, you can give less than 1 minute to each and every question. Okay, and maximum you can give 2 minutes to one question. And if you're not getting any clue even after 2 minutes, then immediately you need to skip that and leave the next question. Otherwise, you cannot see all the questions and time is not managed properly. Okay, right. I think these are the important
Sir,
things, especially in
sir, may I ask a doubt, sir?
yeah.
Sir, what should we take in the lunch when we are going to the exam, sir?
Yeah, you should take yeah, in the meals that you take in the morning every day, you need to take, if possible, you need to take freshly cooked rice, right? And you need to take equal portions of rice and the curry. Generally what one of the most common mistakes people do is they take more proportion of rice and less proportion of curry, dal, and so on. All right, but that is not the correct proportion. Actually, you need to take less rice and more curry. You need to take less
Why,
rice,
sir?
more dal. Okay, or at least 50-50, same quantity should be there. That is exactly the portion, right? Especially when the rice is especially when the rice is polished, right? So, if the rice is brown and if the rice is not polished, then obviously it is very good. And, even if you take more of it, it is not dangerous to health. But when people are using polished white rice, okay, there is not much good thing left in it because everything is washed out or polished. Okay, right?
Yes, sir.
All the stuff in that, all the real stuff or the good stuff in that is already gone. Okay, so it is just like the pulp, pippi in Telugu. Okay, right? So
Yeah, sir.
there is no point in taking too much of that. Okay, right? It is not going to help much. So the solution for that is take equal quantity of curry like rice or more quantity of curry and dal, right? Than the rice. Okay, so right, it's not like taking the curry in rice. It is like taking rice in curry. It is not like taking dal in rice. It is like taking rice in dal. సో
Yeah,
అన్నంలో
sir.
కూర కలుపుకోవడము, పప్పులో కూర అన్నంలో కూర కలుపుకోవడము, అన్నంలో పప్పు కలుపుకోవడం కాదు. కూరలో అన్నం కలుపుకోవడము, పప్పులో అన్నం కలుపుకోవడము. Something like that it should be there. Like sambarలో అన్నం కలుపుకోవడము. That sambar also can have
Yeah,
all the vegetables, not just liquid, but it can have more vegetables. Okay, right? And curd can be taken because obviously you have time, right? See, you are trying to take meals before 9 a.m. That means up to 11 a.m. you have 2 hours time.
yes, sir.
So the possibility of getting sleep or possibility of feeling heavy, after 11 a.m. is very less. See, it is better to feel a bit full rather than feeling a bit hungry. See, if you feel hungry, or if you feel hunger at the time of writing a competitive exam, then obviously it's not good for you. So you should feel neither hunger nor heavy, at the time of writing a competitive exam. And that one of the best ways to do that is to take meals in the morning rather than breakfast, because breakfast would not be enough up to 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. like that. Okay, right? Like that is how, you have to do, and of course you can maintain some small, you know, uh, portable food, small food that can be taken easily, quickly, like portable. For example, the so-called chickpeas means that groundnut,
Donuts.
jaggery. Yeah, groundnut jaggery combination is there, right?
Yes, sir.
It's called Verusenanga Mudda in Telugu, or chikki maybe in Hindi, I think. Okay, right? So these things, that quick, or in the worst case, you can maintain a bar chocolate. Yes, if it is not really possible to take meals on the exam day, and if you think that you may get hungry during the exam, the best thing is you can maintain a bar chocolate. You can maintain 1 or 2 bar chocolates in the pocket, and if the examiner questions you, you can say that, I have not taken breakfast or I have not taken any food. So most probably I'll be very hungry during the exam, and how can I write the exam? So, when I feel very hungry to take it, I have kept it with me. You know, like that. And most probably the invigilator will not say anything. They just, well, maximum what they would do is they would take the chocolate to them, and when you ask, I'll give you, like that, someone can say. No one will take it actually. If they take it, they may say like this. And in the worst case, if there is a very, very, very strange person, then maybe he'll throw it outside. We can't do anything if the person throws it outside. Right? So we cannot
Sir,
do.
I have listened also eating bubble gum while doing anything makes us efficient. Is it right, sir?
Yeah, there is a concept like, the brain works better after taking any sweet thing. Okay, right. So I remember when I was going to write Chartered Accountancy Foundation exams, I used to take sugar. I mean,
Uh,
kalakand, that means that sugar balls, right? It's called kalakanda in Telugu. Okay, right. I used to take it,
Kalakanda, sir.
because, my aunt actually used to make dosa. Actually, dosa is not the best thing because, it contains oil and it may put a person to sleep. So I used to
Uh,
take dosa, which would be like very sour, pulla dosa. It would, and then after that, that is how they used to make. I don't know how they were making like that. Maybe something went wrong. I don't know. But that is what they were giving, and that is what I was taking. And after that, I used to take, this kalakanda. That means, the sugar balls. And I used to go to exam thinking that the sugar balls would make my brains do wonders like that. But these are all actually small things compared to the practice and the determination. Practice, determination, target, aim, commitment. All these things are very strong, and they play the major role in deciding. The thing. Okay, deciding how well we write an exam or how well we do a certain thing, and what else, how, and most probably the result also. But these are like some things, these are like small things which play an important role, like the food we take, like the small techniques, tips and techniques that we take, perhaps, which can make the performance slightly better, and which can perhaps give a better rank in a competitive exam, like that. Okay, right. Yes, the point here is, yes, there is a concept like the brain works better if the body takes sugar, or the body takes any sweet thing. Yeah, that's also there. Maybe honey would be a very good thing. I think instead of taking this sweet or this sweet or that sweet, any human made or unnatural sweet, it is better to take natural sweet that is made by honeybees. Honey. So many people
sir,
actually,
but honey is also adulterated by the companies which are selling to us. It's
everything
not
is
for.
yeah, everything is poisoned these days. Almost everything that is human beings are exposed to is poisonous these days. So I really wonder how human race is still existing on this planet. But still we exist, right? So we need to try whatever that can be done. For example, you can learn how to identify what is correct honey and what is wrong honey, and maybe we can try to do that. But it's up to you actually. There is the problem of pollution is there everywhere. Okay, so in everything, so one needs to try to get the best things. That's all one can do. Okay, right. Yeah. So on that note, if you don't have any more questions, we'll go ahead and end this session. This session focus main, I think whatever the recording we have done, this recording has actually focused on how to identify the best possible option in a multiple choice question in a competitive exam. The most important tips and techniques to identify, the best answer in a multiple choice competitive exam. So that is what this recording mainly talks about, or main intention of this recording. Okay, right. If you don't have any more questions for now, so I'm just going ahead, I'm just stopping the recording. Yes, can I stop recording? Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
thank
sir.
you, thank you very